Hey everyone, so welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Jen and I am a homeschooling mom of 6 kids, and I keep saying this, but technically now it's 5 because I have my oldest son who has graduated this year. So upcoming September, he will no longer be homeschooling with us, obviously, but I still think of myself as like a homeschooling mom of 6. It will be 5. I have done 6 though at some point. Anyway, today I am continuing my little series of doing some year-end curriculum reviews. For all my kids, I've been doing them according to, per kid, according to grade that they were in. And I know that we're like in this, like in the right in the middle of summer. Most of us are on our summer break. Well, I'm from Canada, so typically in terms of public school scheduling, we usually don't go back to school until September. But I know in a lot of different areas, especially in the States, I think even now, because as of right now, it's the beginning of August, and I'm pretty sure I've been seeing some people talking about their kids, they're already going back to school or they're just starting to get ready to go back to school. So no matter how you do it, I still wanted to continue doing this because I thought, as opposed to just focusing on what I'm buying or what we're going to be using for next year, I wanted to talk about everything that we had done this last year. I think it's always good to hear what people actually used and what worked in someone's homeschool. So that's why I'm doing this. I don't know, it's like, okay, hold on. I'm sitting in front of a window and it has been threatening to storm literally for hours now, and it'll get super dark and then all of a sudden the sun will come out, and that is currently what's going on. When I first
Someone's at the front door.
and now the doorbell just rang. When I first sat down to film, it was like pitch black and I have like all the lights turned on. I had everything turned up on my camera. Anyway, if you see it going in and out, that's why. So today I am going to be talking about my son. He just completed his grade 6 year. I say this in every video because we homeschool. In terms of like grade labeling, I'm very loose and kind of whatever about that. I mean, we do pretty much stay on track. I am not as concerned with what each book or each curriculum says in terms of number, like grade number on it. I more go by whatever I feel is going to be a little bit of a challenge, obviously, for each kid. I don't want it to be too easy, but I kind of look at where they're at because that is part of the freedom. And, you know, one of the many reasons why we chose to homeschool is to be able to just cater to each child's learning ability and learning style in what we choose and how we do everything. So you may see a couple of different, you know, levels or grades in terms of what each curriculum says therefore. But that's just what worked for us in our homeschool. I would say all in all, he had a very successful year. And I would say also that most of this stuff are like, it's things that we have used throughout the year, just curriculum that we have stuck with, that I've used with previous kids, like kind of coming up. And that's why we continue to use it, because it works. I'm not including any kind of group work that we did, so there's going to be a few things that are missing. This is all pretty much independent work that he has done, subjects like that. And then I still plan, hopefully, to do a video on group subjects that we did together. First off, I talked about in a few of my other videos, if you haven't already watched them, I've already done a few in this series, talked about how we start off each morning with morning time, and did a video on that and how we kind of do that. But we do a family devotional, we do family Bible time during that time. But I do like each of my kids to have their own individual devotional Bible time as well, because I find it's just different. When we do our family Bible time, it really is just that. It's a time for us to just read the Bible, talk about all kinds of things, have discussions, answer questions, just really bounce off ideas off of each other and work through passages of the Bible as a family. And then for their own individual time, I usually get them a devotional that is specifically catered to their age, their level. The one that he has been doing, 52-week devotional Gotta Have God. Everything is always like so reflective, sorry. But this is the one that he has been doing, and it's by Rose Kids. I think I got this off Christian Book. Obviously, a lot of this stuff you can always check Amazon. If it's not on Amazon, most of it's I get off Christian Book. This is the one he's been doing, 52 weeks, so it lasts the whole year. It actually lasts longer because I don't like make the kids do this during summertime. It's not that we just stop reading the Bible or doing anything like that during the summer, but I reserve these very specific scheduled times for school. But this is what he does, similar to the ones I've shown of my other kids. It's just based on a Bible verse each day. It's usually just one page. Each one is usually just one page based on a Bible verse, and then there'll be like a little reading that they do. Sometimes there's like a story, an analogy, some sort of something that, you know, something that, like I said, that they can relate to for their age. There's a few questions and they kind of answer. They maybe write out a little personal prayer, and then at the end there is also a prayer for them to say. Sometimes there's like little activities to do. It kind of just depends on each day. Like it's somewhat consistent, but every once in a while it switches up a bit. And it doesn't take, obviously it doesn't take long at all, and it's just another supplement to what we already do as a family. He hasn't finished this, like I said, because it goes for 52 weeks. So he has a little bit of it left, so probably this upcoming school year I'll have him finish this, and then I'll decide what his next one is going to be. But yeah, so we like those. And then I also talked about journal time, that I have 6 kids. With my 4 youngest kids, they do journal time. It's basically just an opportunity for them to have creative license to, you know, just kind of write or draw something. They can talk about things that are actually happening in real life, keepsake, or they can just write whatever, make up things, make up stories, silly pictures, whatever they want. But I really enjoy doing this. I always suggest that, you know, if you're not doing this already with your kids, it's just it's easy, it's fun, and it's one of those like almost like sneaky learning things, because I know some people will provide prompts or questions for their kids to answer, and that's great maybe if your kid has a hard time figuring out what they want to write or draw. But I really just like giving them, like, it's a free-for-all. It's a good way for them to work on their penmanship, their spelling, you know, grammar, punctuation, all those things. I try not to go too crazy. Like, I don't really check for those things. Sometimes if I glance over, or if I'm walking by, I may point like, you know, that's supposed to have a capital or something like that. But I try not to really focus on that as much. And of course their art, if they want to draw a picture, they have to date it as well, so it's good practice. It's something that they continue to have to write the date. And yeah, I usually have them do it up until grade 8, and then at that point they can kind of choose once they hit high school. If they want to do it, they can continue doing it, but I don't necessarily like force them to do it. He'll write more than he draws, but he will still add some little drawings in, and even sometimes my oldest daughter, she will like to draw pictures or whatever. But yeah, this is just something we've been doing from the start. We do it even with my littlest one. She's going into grade 1, and I talked about how I just usually at the very beginning, I usually just have them draw pictures and tell me about it, and I will write it in for them. I just gradually keep sort of giving them more and more of the independence of doing it. Eventually I have them start writing simple sentences and not worry about the spelling or anything like that. And they start practice writing the date, and you know, and then it just continues until they know more what they're doing. I just use these composition books. Something new that we did this past homeschool year, not new in the sense of like we've been doing it, but just we picked a different curriculum for it. It's typing, and my kids, I usually get them starting on typing around grade 5-ish, and we usually use a online typing program. It's free, it's just typing.com, and we love it. I've used it with all my kids. It keeps track of like their accuracy is, what their speed is, and there's just like daily lessons. There's even a few games that they can play on there. And again, all of my kids have done it, and they've all become fairly, I mean, especially my 2 older kids, like when I watch them type, I'm like, wow, they're faster than me. Usually what ends up happening though is they complete they completely complete the program. I'll have them usually go through it twice. So like 2 years in a row, I will have them do everything that's on typing.com from start to finish. And that's usually, and then they're done. So with my not my two younger kids, but with my son and my older daughter, the one who's going into high school, I had them do it one time through typing.com. And then this past year, I decided to have them try the Good and the Beautiful typing program, just to kind of switch things up, to be honest with you. We have typing 1 and typing 2. There's actually 3 levels as far as I know. I don't think it goes past level 3. Because they've already done typing.com, I wouldn't say there's anything in here that's completely brand new, you know, because they've pretty much covered everything in the other program. It's more just going over it again. And for the sake of a refresher, I had him start at level 1. It was pretty easy for him, but again, reminders on like hand placement and stuff, because that's the thing that I find is sometimes when they're doing the online program, especially when they start playing the games, they start forgetting, or they just like don't pay attention to how they're actually placing their hands and all that kind of initial stuff that you learn when you're typing. So that's what I did like about this program, and it was just nicer to have this laid out, and then we just use like a Word document. I saved them all on a folder on the laptop. It's pretty straightforward. The lessons are super short, and I don't know, 5 minutes maybe it would take them from start to finish to do a lesson. So I mean, if you're looking for something that's more like of a physical book, then I would recommend it. But again, if you're looking for just something that's like easy to acquire, free, online, I would try typing.com. In my daughter's video that I did, her grade 4 curriculum, I talked about how we switched over our writing program with her from A Reason for Handwriting. I always forget the name of it. A Reason for Handwriting. She did all of the printing books through them, and then when we hit the cursive part of it, it all kind of got a little jumbly, and she was having a hard time with the way they were teaching it. So I switched her over to Handwriting Without Tears, and she began doing their cursive, their first, I think she did a book and I think a half of their cursive level.
Someone's at the front door.
We're so popular today. I decided, since I was doing that with her, he's already actually done. He has done some of the cursive with A Reason for Handwriting. This year, this was just more like let's just finish it off. Let's just sort of make sure you are good. I don't really plan on, I'm almost certain I'm not going to continue him on cursive next year. He's going into grade 7, and I think we're good at this point. Since I was switching her, I just thought, because he has been with that one curriculum for so long, sometimes that's what it is, to be honest with you. Like, there's a lot of times I don't switch anything up because it just works and there's really no reason to switch it up. But then there are times when it's just like, you feel like you just need something fresh and new in your homeschool, and this was one of those times. I switched him over also to Handwriting Without Tears, and he did the Can Do cursive. This one really is just like a refresher course, and he did really well. Again, there was nothing new. I would technically say that both are good. If you're looking to decide which one you want to go with, if you're just starting your kid off, I would look, like on christianbook.com, you usually can go through and see a couple of sample pages. I would just kind of flip through it and see, you know, depending on your child's learning style, what they might respond better to. Do they even do this in public school anymore? Did they ever? Like, I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm pretty sure I learned cursive when I was growing up. I can't even remember now. I mean, somebody must have taught me. I didn't learn it on my own. Another thing that he did was Explode the Code. We love Explode the Code in our house. I've said this before. It's just a great extra add-on supplement to all the writing things. All of my kids have done it. Like, every single one of my kids have done it, and they love doing it. It takes like no time at all. It's fun, and yet again, it's like one of those things where it's almost like sneaky learning, you know. And this was his last year doing Explode the Code, because he's done all the levels. He did level 7 and 8 this year. It really is a good supplement to whatever language arts program they're already doing. It just reinforces everything that they've already been taught or are currently being taught. We love Explode the Code. So he did Wordwise level 6. And basically Wordwise is words that they may not already know, may not have heard, or they may not know the meaning to. It's to help expand their vocabulary, especially when they're writing. You know, I always talk to my kids about, like, you know, we talk about what makes a book interesting and a story interesting. And if you keep, you know, if Sarah is sad, but you keep saying she's sad, she's really sad, she's just very sad, that makes the book very boring. So it's good to have like an arsenal of words to use, especially when you're doing any kind of creative writing, or even if you're just like writing papers, so that you don't sound repetitive and boring, and just to expand your vocabulary in general, even when you're speaking to people. They get a list of words, how to pronounce the words, and then what each meaning is, and how they're used in a sentence, especially if it's a word that might have multiple meanings to it. They're given different activities to do to help them learn those words and what the meaning of those words are. There would be sentences with like bold sections of the sentence, and they would have to replace that bold section with one of the words in the word list. So in order to do that, they have to know what it means. At the end of the week, I would test them. It's more a quiz. And then that's what we would do weekly. I really like these sort of extras because I feel like this is going to help them in so many different areas. Like obviously it's going to help them with language arts, like their language arts program, but in general, I mean, you're writing all the time. There's nothing more frustrating than when you're trying to read something and it's just a big jumbly mess. So we really try to focus on good writing habits in general. So all these resources put together hopefully make for some good writers. And I would say that they do work because, again, with my older kids, you know, my son just graduated and he's always done really well in writing papers. My daughter, she's going into grade 11, and again, like they really do excel when they write papers of any kind. They always get really good marks. So I can attest that Wordwise is a great supplement. And another one that we love as well is Spelling Workout, and he did level E. This last year he did level E. The way that these ones usually work is that there is like a little blurb, a little story of sorts at the beginning. What I like is a lot of times is the story actually has like facts. So like this first one is about earthquakes, so you're it's like a double whammy. And then they'll highlight some words in the story that you are going to be working on in the spelling. I have a list of 20 spelling words. They usually have a tip at the top of the page if there's a certain blend or a special sound that you're working on. And kind of like the Wordwise, each lesson is broken up into sections and various activities to give the student practice working on their spelling words. Listing words in alphabetical order. Then sometimes they have to do like a passage reading and they've purposely misspelled some of the words and they have to find which ones they are and spell them correctly. So anyway, they just keep doing that throughout the week. I would test them on this. Usually I would do it the following Monday. We would just use like dry erase markers and a dry erase pad. I would tell them every day for about 10 minutes at some point and just write out working on their spelling words for the week. Following Monday, before they started their new chapter, their new set of words for that week, we would do a quiz. We just each have like a spelling, we just use the composition books again. And I would just administer a spelling test. And then we move on to science. Now, science is one of the subjects that we do together. I actually do it with, like, we don't do one big group because the ages, there was a point when we were doing that, but then it just got to a point where the ages were just too spread out. But science is also one of those things that I always have my kids do independently. I know what I'm focusing on when we are doing it as a group. It's almost like more general science that they do on their own, and a lot of times when we do it as a group, it's more of a focused science on a particular thing. I really enjoy doing the Abeka, the whole thing they have on science. We've been using Abeka Science for as long as I can remember. And if you just used this is a chunky, meaty, it has like on its own, you don't need to supplement. I would say in general, everything we've used from Abeka, because we've done multiple things within their curriculum, is very advanced, is very like chock full of information. You do not need to necessarily add anything on, and it's not a supplemental curriculum. Does that make sense? But we kind of use it hand in hand with what we do as a group. I usually have the kids do these independently. I find that it's a little bit more a broad spectrum of science, and then I tend to do a lot more like unit study sciences with them. He did the level 6, which is observing God's world with science, and it just covers all kinds of things. So the way that we do it is, this is what would be considered like the textbook, I guess. Throughout there will be observation questions, comprehension check to see that they understand what they've been reading so far. And then at the end of every unit, or at the end of every chapter, there's what's called a chapter checkup, which kind of encompasses everything for that chapter. Not enough space for them to answer anything within this book. We just use, again, just a spiral notebook of some sort to write all their answers in there. We didn't do this every single day. I had them do this twice a week. And then on the alternate days, we would do our group science together. In this particular one, it talks about plants, invertebrate, earth science, the universe, space, and a little bit of matter and chemistry. I love all the Abeka science books. They are fantastic. There's a lot jam-packed in here. This is for sure a complete, like, full year's worth of science. So all of my kids do independent reading throughout the day, 30 minutes of reading, signed readers that I usually have planned out. There's like a weird bug on the window. We use a lot of the leveled readers from The Good and the Beautiful. I just love, well, I love their readers, but I also just love that they are just like safe reads for my kids, especially as my kids start to get older. I'm sure I'm not the only parent who's noticed that navigating a bookstore or a library nowadays and trying to find good quality books for your kids as they get older gets harder and harder. So I love The Good and the Beautiful leveled readers, because I just don't have to worry about that. My kids all have loved the stories. They actually have a lot of classics in there as well. So he read a ton of those for his personal reading, and then with that he did in fact do the Good and the Beautiful language arts and literature level 5. Now the language arts in The Good and the Beautiful goes up until, well, it goes all the way through high school, but the way that they've done it is their level 8, which would sort of be, I guess, grade 8, is only a book study course. So it's not a full-on language arts course like all their other levels are. I don't know why they do it that way, but that is how they do it. And so what I do is I just have my kids do one level below, if that's what you want to call it. And this is what I mean, because it's level 5, it doesn't necessarily translate to grade 5, it's just level 5. Remember that that is on top of everything else that I throw in there to supplement. So that is not the only like language arts that they do. It's kind of like the core and then everything else to supplement it as well. I have it this way because in a binder, because I just printed it out. We live in Canada, and so sometimes the shipping and things can be complicated and a lot. We have the Epson EcoTank printer, by the way, which I would highly recommend, because we've had it for 2 years now, and I still haven't had to refill the ink. And we print out a lot, especially like actual curriculum, you know, like actual curriculum, we print out a ton. Side note, if you're looking for a really good printer for your homeschool, the Epson EcoTank, it tends to be a lot more money at the start than some of the other, because you can get printers for so cheap now. But in the long run, I wish I had had it from the very start. He did the level 5 language arts literature, and we've just done so well with The Good and the Beautiful since they've come out with curriculum. We pretty much started using them pretty early on. Just had a lot of success with the program. I love that their language arts program incorporates geography and art as well. And I also love the readers that they come with. Aside from personal reading, they come with, I didn't bring them up, they come with like these chunky readers that have like multiple stories inside that they read alongside whatever lesson they're on. Watercolor painting projects and stuff like that, and geography cards as well. So yeah, I have four of my youngest kids currently doing the Good and the Beautiful, all their language arts programs, and they've all loved it. I've loved it. It's been an all-around success. I'm gonna add this in because this is not something we do as a group in terms of like, when I think about a group subject, I think more about something where like I'm doing it with them, I'm teaching them something like as a group. This is something that he does with his sister. They're just like 2 years apart. And it is it's the See the Light art class DVDs. It's an art program pretty much. This is something also that my older kids have done. So we've had these for a while now. Now I know there's all kinds of things you could do for art. My kids love just like looking up YouTube videos, and there's like things like the Art for Kids Hub my kids like love. This is like an actual like curriculum. This is volume 1 through 9. It's old school. It is DVDs. So we actually use like these portable DVD players, you know, like you use in a car. And I usually just set that up at the kitchen table. We get like these art pads. We just get them from the dollar store, actually, these huge like black ringed art pads. And I set them up there, and they do it on their own because it's all within, the instruction is all within the DVDs. So the beginning covers the basics, shape and space, value and color blending techniques, proportions for composition, texture and form, perspective for the landscape, balancing and foreshortening, and the portrait. So learning how to draw portraits. And it's great. And it also has like a biblical aspect to it. These have been great, and my kids love it, and they've learned a ton from it, and it's just like super fun. So it's kind of like one of the electives we do. There you have it. That is everything that my son used this past year for grade 6. He's going into grade 7, and I'm like, what? Like, my mind is blown at all the things that are, all the ages, the birthdays, the grades, the graduating, all the things are blowing my mind. I'm just thankful to be here. I'm glad that I get to see all of this progress firsthand. There's nothing quite like that, knowing that, you know, I had a hand in it. Obviously, I cannot do anything without God's grace. Just homeschooling it's been tough. Honestly, like it's not for the faint of heart, but it's been such a blessing and such one of the best decisions we've ever made. On that note, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you got some ideas, maybe some curriculum you've been looking into and you weren't quite sure. Hopefully that helped a little bit in your decision making. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you could subscribe if you haven't already, and thumbs up the video. That really helps out my channel and lets me know that you enjoy these homeschooling videos, and I will see you guys next time.